So I'm going to change gears now a little bit and talk about something different, something that most of you have never heard of whatsoever, and it's called exosomes. So exosomes are something that is naturally occurring in the body. This is a normal cell here outlined, and inside the cell you have these vesicles. And inside of our cells there are a number of different little organs, they call them organelles, and they're generally contained by a membrane. They come in different shapes. But lots of them are in this structure. It's essentially like a spherical blob that has the same membrane as is the outer membrane of the cell, a lipid bilayer membrane. And it can contain various types of chemicals. Now, this is a specific type of vesicle that will end up merging with the cell membrane at the surface under certain conditions and release these exosomes out into the extracellular fluid, and they'll get into the circulation and be distributed around the body. They release these on a regular basis, just day to day. And there are many things, though, that can induce this process and accelerate it and increase the number of exosomes that it releases outside of the cell. And so these exosomes leave the cell, and you see they have these little squares on them. And these little squares are like a lock. And what they do is they go around the body through the circulation, and they're looking for the right key to fit their lock. And that's called the target cell. And these are mostly thought to involve communication. So communication between one cell and another cell, between one part of the body and another part of the body. And they can have many functions in this communication. So here on the left, this is an electron micrograph, or a picture from an electron microscope of exosomes. And you can see here an exosome budding out of the cell. And inside the cell here where it says MVB, sorry, these are the same as MVEs. That's where all these exosomes are when they're inside the cell before they bud out. Okay. And now we have a picture on the right, which allegedly shows this COVID-19 virus. And you can see that there are these vesicles budding out of the cell in a circular shape with these globular dots on the periphery. So essentially, it's the same thing. Now, you might think that this looks a little bit fuzzier on the exosomes and it looks a bit sharper in this picture. And I want to tell you that the reason for that is because when you're cutting these thin sections of tissue to make these slides, you're using this device called a microtome. It's like a vibrating razor blade. And it's technically difficult, and sometimes the tissue doesn't cooperate well, or sometimes the person is less skilled, and you might not have a perfect slice. On this COVID-19 slide, this is, I've not seen a better slice than this. It's absolutely perfect. The one on the left is a little bit thicker, and so that's why it looks a bit fuzzier and less sharp, but essentially you're seeing the same exact thing. So on the bottom left here, this is a COVID-19 cell. And you see right here is supposedly this is the virus particle inside the cell. And once again, you see a circular shape. And inside, you see these round globular aggregates. Okay. Now look at the top right. And this here is showing you this is less magnification. And this is actually a nerve cell. And this is the MVE. So these are a bunch of exosomes inside here, and you see a circular structure filled with these globular particles. So once again, same thing, also same size. In this paper, what they said is that this receptor is actually how the virus invades the cells. Now, I also was able to find a paper where they've identified exosomes coming from our own body that also use the ACE2 receptor as their lock and key mechanism to find their target cells. So you can see that the more we take out this comparison forward, we see that they're essentially the same in every important way. So this is Dr. James Hildreth, a very prominent researcher and academic physician in the field of virology and HIV research. And he wrote this paper with two of his colleagues there. And what he said, and I quote, "The virus is fully an exosome in every sense of the word." So what is it that causes us to make more of these exosomes and throw them out into our circulation? So it turns out that almost every type of insult to the body would actually cause this process to occur. So toxic substances, psychological stress, including fear, which many, many people around the world are experiencing in a very intense way right now, also causes release of exosomes. So you see how this may cause false positive tests. Cancer, ionizing radiation, infection, injury, in fact, any type of immune response, so whether it be to injury, infection, or another disease, asthma. Now, many papers just said that exosomes are induced by disease, and they didn't mention anything specific, and they seem to be implying that virtually any type of disease can cause this process. Now, I really wanted to find evidence that EMF would induce exosomes, but unfortunately, I could not find a paper on this. But I want to say to all of the people in this field of research on exosomes that this would be an excellent contribution to the literature if you were to look at this issue, if various, especially microwave radiation like 5G, would cause this as well.